Shahnameh, the epic of the Persian kings. Episode 1: The Dawn of the World and the Reign of Keyumars. In the name of the Lord of life and wisdom, the creator of the world and time. This is the story of Iran, the land of kings and warriors, wisdom and fate. It is the tale of Shahnameh, a book that holds the echoes of our ancestors, their triumphs and tragedies, their joys and sorrows. Before the rise of great cities, before the names of heroes and villains were etched in history, the world was wild and untamed. The mountains stood high, untouched by man's hand. Rivers flowed without boundaries, and the land was silent, for there were no kings to rule, no laws to follow. Then, from among the people, one man rose above all others, Keyumars, the first king, the father of civilization. He was chosen by fate, blessed with wisdom, and his radiance was such that it was said the sun itself envied his splendor. Keyumars wore garments of leopard skin, and under his rule, humanity took its first steps toward order. He taught his people to build homes, to clothe themselves, to tame the wilderness. He was not just a king, he was a guide, showing them the path to a life beyond mere survival. The world flourished under his reign, and his people lived in harmony, knowing no war, no suffering. And in this age of peace, Keyumars had a son named Shahnameh, a young prince whose beauty and strength matched the radiance of his father. He was wise beyond his years, courageous and noble, beloved by his people. Keyumars looked upon his son and saw in him the future of his kingdom, a ruler who would continue his legacy. But the light of prosperity does not shine without casting shadows. In the depths of darkness, beneath the earth where the wicked dwell, Ahriman, the lord of demons, stirred with envy. He could not bear to see the world in peace, to see righteousness flourish. His hatred burned like fire, and he sought to destroy what Keyumars had built. Fearsome beyond imagination. His eyes burned with malice, his claws were sharper than iron, and his form was twisted with darkness. To him, Ahriman gave a command: "Go forth, tear down the house of Keyumars, and let the world be plunged into fear and despair." And so, the demon descended upon the world of men, bringing destruction with him. The mountains shook at his arrival, the winds howled with his fury, and the earth itself seemed to tremble beneath his feet. Keyumars, wise and far-seeing, was troubled by dark omens. He turned to his son, Shahnameh, and said, "The world is never free from evil, my son, but the righteous do not bow before darkness. You must face this beast, and you must stand strong, for the fate of our people rests upon your shoulders." Shahnameh, fearless and noble, did not hesitate. He gathered his strength, donned his leopard skin armor, and set forth alone to face the demon. His heart was filled with courage, his mind with determination. But fate had written a cruel destiny for him. The beast was vast, its power beyond mortal strength. The battle was fierce, the prince striking with all his might, yet the demon remained unmoved. Then, in a single, terrible moment, the beast's claws struck true. Shahnameh fell. The world gasped. The prince, the shining star of Keyumars' realm, was slain. Keyumars' grief knew no bounds. He tore his garments, wept upon the earth, and his sorrow reached the heavens. The people of the land mourned with him, for they had lost their prince, their hope, their future. But in sorrow, the embers of vengeance began to burn. Keyumars looked upon Shahnameh's son, Hashang, a youth barely past childhood, but with fire in his heart, and he knew that fate had given him one final chance. Keyumars gathered his warriors, those who remained faithful in the face of despair. The animals of the mountains, who had once lived in peace under his rule, stood beside him, for they too mourned Shahnameh and wished for vengeance. Hashang, though young, stood at the front of the army, his hands gripping the sword of his fallen father. The day of reckoning arrived. The demon, arrogant in his victory, stood once more to meet them. But this time, he did not face a lone warrior. He faced an army of the just, led by a young prince with the fire of destiny in his soul. The battle shook the heavens. Swords clashed, roars filled the air, and the ground itself seemed to crack beneath the weight of the war. And then, with a final, mighty stroke, Hashang avenged his father. The beast fell, its form lifeless, its darkness banished. Keyumars, though still burdened with grief, saw that his people had triumphed. The world would remember Siamak, but it would also remember that justice prevailed, that righteousness had not faltered. Thus ended the first great trial of mankind, but this was only the beginning. The cycle of fate had begun, and the story of Shahnameh had only just been written.